Hi, my name is Dong, and I'm a Canadian animator working in the Japanese animation industry. Today, in this video, we will go in depth on how anime is actually made, and hopefully we can dispel some common myths and help you guys appreciate the art form to a greater degree. So a bit about me, I started as an animator in Canada before moving to Japan. I work at Nut Animation Studio, and I started by drawing Genga, also known as Tiedowns, for the Tanya the Evil series before moving on to layout and key animation. I probably worked on some of your favorite shows, including the aforementioned Tanya the Evil, To Love Ru, Macross, Haikyuu, Dr. Stone, Decadence, Sunny Boy, Blue Giant, Bullbuster, Negaposi Angler, One Piece, Witch Hat Atelier, and some other ones I'm forgetting. This video series was commissioned by Dondon Tech, the company my buddy Shu and I founded. We're making new animation tools for the modern age. Check us out in our link below, which is our mailing list, and see our introduction video. Dondon's mission is to support the whole animation industry and the medium, and part of that is by providing resources for creators. Let us start at the beginning in pre-production. Every anime begins with an idea, a concept. A concept can be a director's original idea compiled into a short pitch package with character designs and world descriptions, or it can be something where a publishing company wants to adapt an existing manga or novel, in which they will solicit pitches from various studios. This process is called Kikaku, the planning of the overall production. A production committee will be created to facilitate the planning and production of this new anime. The production committee is also called the Seisaku Inkai in Japanese. The committee consists of various production companies, broadcasters, publishers, and sponsors. Over the course of a couple months, the committee figured out the scope of the show and who the staff and cast are, as well as providing funding. Here, for example, is the Kikaku, the pitch package essentially, for Evangelion. Did you know Rei's hair used to be more silver? Anyways, here the artists Hideki Anno and Yoshiyuki Sadamoto are trying to sell the charm of giant robots to the members of the production committee, as well as explain the overall world and history. Then, the screenplay is written, also called a Shinario. A show can have a dedicated writer, or sometimes it's the director, called the kantoku, who writes his own script. There are plenty of meetings between the directors and writers to get the script to the best that it can be. Here is the script for Negaposi Angler, for example. Japanese scripts look a bit different from Western ones, and they are vertical for one, and are read right to left. There are about 20 characters vertical and 40 lines horizontal. But both Western and Japanese scripts serve the same purpose, providing information on the location and time, the stage directions, and describing the movement and action. After that, the design work starts. The designers will start creating model sheets called Settei for the characters, mechanical things, and create environmental designs. Here are some designs from Michiko and Hatten. As you can see, the characters are all detailedly drawn out so that the other staff on the show can reference them when they draw. This show has the main character constantly change their outfit episode to episode, and they all have to be designed meticulously. Here is the environmental design section. And since this show is essentially a road trip story, there are so many environments that need to be designed. And here is the design for the mecha meaning mechanical. So this is things such as their bikes, vehicles, their weapons, etc. The designers can be anyone from dedicated design artists, art directors, or animators. If you want to become a designer, there are many paths open for you. There will also often be a separate color design team that will decide what the overall color design of a show will be. They create the Shikisaisettei, the color model sheets. If you want to know more about color design, I recommend this book, Animation no Iroshokunin by Shibaguchi-san, who was a color designer at Studio Ghibli. Once the designs have progressed enough, it is time to draw the storyboards, also called E-konte. Here are the boards for one of the episodes of Negaposi Angler. The boards are a visualization of the written script, with each scene planned out and the movement of the characters drawn out. Information for things such as the dialogue and sound effects are also noted. The writer and director work closely with the board artists here throughout multiple meetings. The board artists can be the directors themselves, or they can be delegated to the episode directors, the Henshuu, who coordinate and are in control of individual episodes or parts of a show. The boards in Japanese shows do differ from Western ones. For example, they will often seem much more messy. This is because they are drawn quite fast, which the animators themselves expected to provide their own interpretation of a scene. Obviously, this isn't always true, and many artists draw very pretty boards. Western boards are generally much more clean because the animation is generally outsourced to another studio, so they have to be very clear, with productions often employing people just to clean up the boards. With the boards done, we move out of pre-production and into production. From here, we animators meet with the episode directors about our scene and start animating, starting at the layout stage. It's called layout, but it really consists of both layout and rough animation in the Japanese animation industry. Here are some of my layouts from Negaposi and Cloud. And here we have several drawings, including the layout with the background and camera move information, and then we have our cell animation layers. Here, layers A and B are carves, they are 3D CG in this particular scene, and on layer C, we have our characters. This is just a held drawing, but if they were to move, they would do it here. An animation layout is to the animator what the blueprint is to an architect. It provides information on how the background will look and how the characters will move and interact in relation to it, as well as information for any camera work and instructions for the compositors. With the layout and rough animation done, all that is left to do is for the animator to fill in a timesheet or exposure sheet. Here is mine from that scene on Negaposi Angler. These aren't all that different from the ones you see in the West, and here we have different fields to write the information of the scene, such as the name of the show, the episode, the scene number, the slugging, the name of the animator, and the number of pages. Then we have a memo section for camera work and columns to time out our animation on the left. There are also columns for things such as sound, camera work, and a large amount of space is reserved for the in-betweeners, where they will have to rename the drawings once they draw the in-betweens for a scene. I have videos on how to write animation timesheets on this channel if you would like for further reading. Once the animator submits their work, it gets checked by the episode director, who makes sure that your staging and acting is correct, and sometimes the director might check your work if it is an important scene. The Sakuga director, which Sakuga meaning to draw an image, and this is someone with very strong draftsmanship ability, will put the drawings on model for you. And then the So Sakuga director, sometimes called a chief Sakuga director, who is usually also the character designer, will further put the drawings on model. Next is the tie-down or key animation or Genga stage. Here is a scene of mine from Bowbuster. This is my rough layout, and here is my drawing of Miyuki, and here is the episode director's drawover where he adds a little purse for her, and here is the So Sakuga director's drawing, putting her further on model. Here the animator takes all the drawovers and redraws and traces over them, consolidating everything into a cleaner, tied down drawing that the in-betweeners can use. And here is Miyuki tied down. Not every rough drawing will have a drawover, so it is also the animator's job to get those other drawings to match with the drawings that do have a drawover, as you can see with these other drawings of Miyuki. Sometimes when an animator is busy, another artist might draw their Genga for them. When this happens, it is called second key animation or Daini Genga or Nigen for short. Once the scene is tied down, the same directors will check your work again. The episode director, the Sakuga director, and the So Sakuga director. After this, all the drawings and layout are collected into a bag called the katabukuro, and it is sent off to be cleaned and in-betweened. This process is called Douga. Studios might have a small Douga department where they draw the Douga for the most important scenes, and everything else is generally sent off to a specialized Douga studio. Here we visited Studio Signage Works in Ho Chi Minh City. They helped me with my in-betweens and cel painting on the short film I produced called Nenabuzu. Go check that out when it comes out. First of all, the tied down Genga is traced using an alias and, most importantly, a clean line. The red and blue color separation lines are also traced. Then, the in-betweens, the nakawari, are created based off the timing charts. This is then sent off to a Douga checker to check that all the drawings have no errors. Once all the drawings are created, the movement will be much more smooth and finished looking. The next step is cel painting, or Shiage. Based on the color designs provided by the color department, each individual clean cell drawing has their color added to them, painting over the red and blue color separation lines when needed. The colorist will generally lead this department, making important decisions on how things will look, and once this is done, a Shiage checker will go through each drawing to look for errors. While all this is happening, the background department will be painting the backgrounds. This is called Bijutsu in the industry. Here are some of my favorite background paintings by Oga Kazuo-san for Studio Ghibli. The backgrounds are painted generally after the layout is complete. The BG department also has their own hierarchy with an experienced Bijutsu director or lead painter that directs various other painters under them. The paintings need to be done fast as a single episode has hundreds of backgrounds that need to be painted. If you would like to learn more about how backgrounds are painted, I recommend this book by Oga Kazuo called Oga Kazuo Gashu 2. It goes through his process when he painted for Studio Ghibli, and it just has some really nice drawings in there. The 3D CG department is generally a newer thing, and not all studios have one. The 3D department generally helps out all the other departments when needed. For example, here is a scene from Decadence, where the 3D department created a 3D model of the room my scene was taking place in, and I was essentially able to use their renders as reference for when I draw my layout. The 3D department can also help create designs, mock up 3D elements to help the animators, and they can create textures and effects for the compositors, and of course, do 3D animation when it is called for. Moving on, with our animation finished, we go into post-production. The first step is to put all of our animation and BG and effect elements together in a step called compositing, or Satsuei as it is called here. I have a video on this subject on my channel that goes into anime compositing in detail. This is generally done in After Effects, and here the compositing department will go through all the scenes, putting them together and polishing them up individually. The director will work closely with the compositing department on this. Here, for example, is the After Effects file of a scene from Negaposi Angler. It is very dense with layers for animated elements and effects and the background, as well as plenty of other effects that are applied to the various layers. Next, the editor will take all the composed scenes in a process called Henshuu, or editing, and edit them together in order, adjusting timing as they go, putting everything into a single piece of footage. Since the timing is mostly decided early at the storyboard stage, this is more of a fine adjustment thing, trimming a couple frames of unneeded footage or adding some frames when things need to be held for longer. While the production is going on, the voice recording, or Afureko, is happening with the voice actors. Here they are given the script called the Kikaku, and they look like this. I kept these from the production of Bowbuster, and essentially these scripts are given to all the talent, and the talent will then perform their lines, usually with the rest of the cast in a recording studio. This process is overseen by the sound director, the Onkyo Kantoku, but might also have other staff providing direction. The recording can be either done early in a production, once the script or boards are finished, or at the end, once the editing is finished. And they will match their voice and cadence to the finished animation. The reason certain anime's lip syncing looks off is because it is common to record after the animation is done. Lastly, there is a process of audio engineering and editing called Dabingu, where the audio is edited in, and it is also overseen by the sound director and their team of sound engineers. Here, the voices, music, sound effects are all inserted into the footage, and these get all mixed so that the sound all have the maximum impact. It is arguable that sound is the most important part of a moving picture. Once all those disparate elements are put together, we have our finished anime. The publisher might do some marketing push, but all that is left is for it to air. Anime airs on a weekly schedule here, with a season being about 12 episodes long. It generally takes 3 months for a show to finish airing. Episodes are generally aired while production is still going on, and I remember working on episode 9 or so of Decadence while the first episode aired. That concludes this video. I hope you all learned something. For further viewing, check out my Negaposi Angler mini doc, and I hope to discuss some of these points in detail in future videos as well, so please look forward to that. Also, be sure to check out Dondon Technologies and sign up for our mailing list for updates on new tools that will help with production. And a big thanks to the patron supporters for this video. I couldn't do these without you guys. If you guys like to support the channel on Patreon, you guys get some extra content every month. Alright, until next time.